Welcome to Milan Recording Studios. My name is James Pavel Shakras, and in today's video I have the Yamaha P45B. I've had a lot of requests to review instruments like this, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing, of course, the P45B and giving you guys my thoughts on this instrument. This is a very popular instrument for the beginning pianist. It's very affordable. It does have quite a few nice features. Of course, it has the limitations of an inexpensive instrument, but for the price it's actually pretty decent. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the P45 and checking out how good it would be for the beginning pianist, but I'm also going to be taking it a step farther than that and seeing if it can actually be used in a recording studio. One thing I'm currently lacking here at the recording studio is a simple piano to have in the control room, so when I'm playing back a video, I can play along with it in the control room to memorize the melody or learn something quickly by ear, a chord progression of a song somebody sends me. I don't currently have that in the control room, and I'd like a small, simple, compact instrument for that. There's a few contenders, the P125, the ES110, and the P45 also might fit into that niche. So before I even do that, though, one thing I will do in this video is compose a basic song on the P45B and use it like it was a real part of the recording studio, and we'll see if the P45B can actually do that. Kind of pushing the limits of what a basic instrument like this can do, but we'll see what it can do. But first, let's open up the box and see how Yamaha did on the packaging and unboxing experience. Typically, Yamahas are packaged up quite nicely, so we will see if this one is packed up nicely too. Should just be able to pop this open. Nope, I gotta cut this side too. There we go. All right, this actually is packaged a bit more securely than I had expected. It is of course, an entry level, or maybe a little tiny bit higher than entry level, low mid-tier price instrument. And they've put a lot of protection and packaging inside of here, a lot more than I actually would have expected. First of all, I'm not sure exactly what this cardboard is there for, but it was there. And then of course here is the P45. Over here we have the pedal unit, which appears to be the exact same thing that we had in the P125. And we also have the power adapter here, tucked away inside of the box there. The music desk is probably underneath the instrument. I think it's right under here. So let's get the P45 out of the box and check it out. I am happy with the unboxing experience. It's well protected. The box is in pretty good condition, but it does have a couple of little small marks. As you can see, there's a dent in that corner. There's also a little groove on the bottom. So protected very well. It seems nice and safe. Let's open it up and see what it looks like. So here we have the P45 out of the box, and as you can see, it has a remarkably simple appearance. It's very clean, it's very smooth, there's not really much ugly about it, and in fact, in my opinion, it's quite attractive for such an inexpensive instrument. It has such a clean user interface because, in fact, there are only two physical buttons on the panel. You have the power switch, you have the function button, which you can use to activate the sounds and activate many of the other features, and of course, you have the volume slider. So those are the only three buttons on the entire instrument, and other than that, there's nothing here. So in a way, it has a very simple user interface, but also it's a little bit complicated. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Overall, there's not really too much negative about the P45. There are a couple of little flaws. I will talk about. One of them, in my opinion, is a bit big, but before I do that, I did want to talk about something else, and that is the fact that a few people have come onto my channel and insinuated that I am being paid by Yamaha to say nice things about them, or that I am otherwise affiliated with Yamaha, and that simply isn't true. I am not being paid by Yamaha. Yamaha isn't sending me any products. I just simply like them and think that overall Yamaha's products are quite nice, and in many cases are superior to other products on the market. The P45, in my opinion, is one of the best instruments in this price class, as is the P125 for its respective price class. However, because I'm not being paid by anybody, I will also tell you guys the negatives about this instrument as well, and it does have a couple. I bought this one with my own money, earned through the YouTube channel from my friends at Morel Music. One nice thing I like about them is you can actually call them on the phone and order a product, then they will let you know when it's in stock, and you can go show up at the store to pick it up, which is really great, and that's what I did for this bad boy. So the big flaw with the P45 is the fact that there is no direct output. There is a headphone jack, which oddly enough is in the back, even though there's a little slot up here where it could totally go. There is a headphone jack, a singular 1/4-inch headphone jack in the back. And that, in my opinion, is a flaw because there's no direct output. So if you're looking for an instrument that you can buy for cheap and use to gig with and use on location, the P45 unfortunately will not be that instrument. If you're looking for an affordable gigging digital piano, the P125, which is about $100 more than this, and the ES110, which I think is in that same price bracket, would be good options because both of those use a direct line output. There's a left channel and a right channel output, as well as a headphone jack for both of those keyboards. The P45 only has the headphone jack. So that means recording this was a little bit tricky because typically I will record through the two direct line outputs and get a nice stereo signal. I'm not able to do that with the P45 because the headphone jack is only outputting in mono. And so I had to do some weird trickery to even get it to work. When you plug the headphone jack in, it disables the internal speakers. I believe the Roland FP30 has a feature where you can plug in a headphone jack but have this external speakers or these speakers still go. This doesn't have that feature. I looked it up. So I had to do some magic to get it to record. Anyways, let's get started and actually play the instrument, shall we? I'm going to start off with the typical Bach piece I always start off with. That's what I like to start off my videos with. And I'm going to play the first fugue from the well-tempered clavier as usual to get a feel for the action and precision of this instrument. As you can hear, the P45 was able to play that piece with absolute ease and didn't give me any problems whatsoever. While this instrument does lack a few things that its bigger brother, the P125, has, one thing that it has in common with the P125 is the action, which is exactly the same as you'd find in the P125. The action of the P125 is one of my favorite things about it. It's very responsive, it plays very easily, and like I said, this has the same thing. So this will give you no problems whatsoever playing virtually any piano music that you can possibly do. In the P125 video, I even played the third movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, and it was able to do that all right. So this would be as well. So you won't be having any issues with the action at all. It's light, it's responsive. It doesn't feel just like a real acoustic piano, but it feels close enough that you'd be able to easily adjust from playing this to playing a real acoustic piano if you wanted to. And overall, I think it's really great. It has a good dynamic response, easy to play. Have I said enough? I think it's good for this type of price point. It's vastly superior to really most anything that's cheaper below this price point, like the Williams instruments and stuff like that. Those have a horrible dynamic response. This is going to feel absolutely amazing. Let's try out something else that requires some pedal this time, which is another small downfall, but at least it comes with a pedal. I'll talk about that in a little bit here too. Let's try my treble test piece that I've written to test out the treble of acoustic pianos, but let's see it on the P45, the inexpensive digital piano. The pedal unit that's included with this instrument is the standard little square plastic flappy thing. They tend to kind of wander and scoot across on the floor, but at least it does the job. There is an optional pedal unit that you can buy that's a bit higher quality that shouldn't wander across the floor that you can buy with this instrument, but the included one, it does the job, but it does like to move around a bit. The other included thing that does the job is the music desk. This is it. It should be adequate. It might be a little bit short. I think I've heard people saying that single sheets of music tend to fold over a little bit, but if you put it behind a wall, it should be all right. So this is the music desk. This is what it came with. Should do the job. So in my opinion, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe that the sounds in the P45 may be a little bit different from the ones that come in the P125. I might be wrong about that, but to me, the piano sound and many of the other ones sound a little bit more tinny and not quite as good as the ones in the P125. In my opinion, this isn't a deal killer. I think the sounds in the P45 are okay, but I do think the sounds in the P125 were a shade better. I think the piano sound in the P45 is a little bit tinny. I could be wrong. But it's still perfectly fine for a beginning piano student to practice on. There's also a second variation of the piano sound, which is a tad a bit brighter, and then you also have a couple of electric piano sounds and other sounds I'll talk about here in a second. But changing sounds and activating many of the features of this instrument is where the second flaw of this instrument really comes in, and that is the fact that many of the sounds are hidden in the user interface. This is done a little bit better than on some of the other instruments, and because it's only $499, you do expect there to be some shortcomings that you wouldn't expect to find in a $600 or $700 instrument. So I'm not quite as upset with the P45 for having this feature as I am with like the Roland FP30, which has this to an even worse degree in my opinion because it's much more expensive. Also, it doesn't have line outputs, but that's for the FP30 video, which I'm editing and working on, by the way. That will be up soon. Anyways, so the P45 does have a number of features that are hidden within the keys that are accessed by pressing and holding this button and then pressing the corresponding key on the instrument. There's actually a surprising amount of features that are actually activated through the keys. There's only one dead key, I believe. It's this low B that doesn't do anything when you push the grand piano button down and then push that key. Nothing happens. But for everything else, something happens. So if the bottom two keys are for the auto power off, and then the next from this C to this A activate the different sounds. You push the button and press the key, and then that will change the sound. The next octave is for the voice demo, and then the next octave after that is for preset songs. Not particularly useful, but kind of handy. After that, right around middle C here, you have touch sensitivity, which is something that kept annoying me because for some reason, when I was playing with it after I just got out of the box, I kept activating the touch sensitivity and turning it off. So that might be something that's a little bit annoying. But if it starts acting weird and you can't figure out why, you can always go to the owner's manual, which I believe is also available online if you lose this one, and you can look on here and see if anything may have gotten toggled. So I have that on the medium setting here, which is middle C, so it's not really too difficult to get to. You can also turn on and off duo mode, which is it splits the keyboard into two equal halves, so a teacher can play on one half and the student can play on the other half. Kind of handy. There's also metronome functionality, which is activated and labeled here on the instrument. You can push and hold this button, and then you have a metronome. Kind of cool. And then there's also a few other features in here too. Let me get back to this here. After the metronome, you can decrease and increase the beats and enter in a custom number there. You can also, let's see, you can change the reverb, and you can change the reverb type, which is kind of neat. You can change the octave setting at which the instrument is set to. You can also do some MIDI stuff. You can change the balancing between voices 1 and 2 and change the MIDI transmit channel. You can also change the transposing, and you can also change the tuning. And then at the very highest C, it turns off the operation confirmation sounds. It toggles that on and off. So the little beeps that you'll hear, it, I assume will, yeah, it'll turn those off. So that's kind of cool that you can turn those on and off. So the features are hidden within the keys, but it's only $499, so I can see why they kind of kept things simple. It does annoy me when you have like a $600 digital piano that's hidden the vast majority of the features in the keys. I find that kind of weird, but for an instrument that's this inexpensive, it really doesn't disappoint me all that much. It's also very nicely labeled, and there's also only 10 sounds, so it keeps it nice and simple. The Roland FP30 had like 20 sounds, so it was a lot harder to remember, and they weren't labeled. So up next here on this low D, we should have an electric piano. On the Roland, I mean, sorry, not the Roland. On the Yamaha P125, I really liked the Rhodes sound. On the Yamaha P45, I don't like it as much, and it really sounds like it's a completely different sound sample to me. Maybe it's the same one, but to me it sounds radically different. It's not as inspiring, it's not as realistic. I had a lot of fun with the P125 Rhodes sound, and I'm not having quite the same amount of fun with the P45. It sounds more like a Hohner pianette in this mid-range than it does a real Fender Rhodes. Again, it's good enough that you would be able to use it in music, as I'll show you later on in this video, but it's not quite as good as on the P125 in my opinion. Up next on this D sharp or E flat, we have a Yamaha DX sound. Sounds okay to me. Up next, I believe we have organ sounds. Sadly, there are no drawbar organ settings on this instrument, but both the church organ settings seem to be pretty decent. I believe the second church organ might be different from the one that's on the P125, which sounded absolutely amazing. This one, I think, is a little bit different, not quite as full sounding, but I'm not sure. It still sounds all right. Up next, we have strings. I believe there's two different variations of strings. Nope, that's the organ again. Here we go. So you've got some simple string pads. It's all right. Up next, we have harpsichord, which in my opinion actually sounds pretty good. There's two different harpsichords. That's the doubled one. That's the strings. Let's see here. Can I get that one? There we go. So there's two harpsichords. There's the single harpsichord and then the doubled harpsichord. So if we just play the single harpsichord. You can hear that, and then the doubled one is the same thing, but with an octave added onto it. As you can hear, traditional harpsichords often have multiple stops you can pull out that can activate different ranks of strings, and that's what that is imitating. The final sound on here, and in my opinion, one of the best ones, oddly enough, is the vibraphone. Yamaha labels this in their owner's manual as being played with soft mallets, and I definitely agree. It has a very lush sound. It's actually very pleasing to listen to, and I really like that one a lot. That might actually be my favorite sound on the P45. So that is a quick look at the 10 different sounds of the Yamaha P45. In my opinion, they're decent and they're okay for a beginning musician, but I think the ones in the P125 were a little bit better and a little bit more fun to play, in my opinion. You also get more on the P125 too. So what else is there to do with the P45? Well, we can play a little bit more music on it. Let's go back to the default piano sound. Let me make sure I'm there, and then we can play some more music on it. I feel like this high E is a little bit muted. I feel like this whole octave up here is a little bit more muted compared to the rest of the instrument. Not a huge deal, but just is something I noticed. It's like this whole, from here on up, the rest of the piano is just brought down in brightness. Sounds oddly cottony and soft. Just kind of odd, but not a huge deal. So that is the P45. It's such a simple instrument that there's not really that much to talk about, but before I sign off the video, there is one more thing I wanted to do, and that is show you guys the piece that I quickly composed for the P45. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I was looking for an instrument to keep in the control room of the studio to use as a basic thing, just to learn some melody lines and have a simple piano in the studio. I don't really need much in the control room, but I'm thinking because this doesn't have line outputs, this might not be the contender. I'm still thinking about it, and I won't be immediately deciding after this video because it is a rather tough decision. I don't need that much, but also having some extra features are kind of nice, so I can decide later on. There's also the P125 and the ES110, maybe even the ES8. I don't know, it's more expensive. I don't need that much, but maybe I'll use that instead. So because there's no direct line outs, I may not choose the P45 for the recording studio, but I still wanted to see how it would fit in to a recording studio. Would it work to any regard at all? So what I did was I composed a simple piece on the P45, and now I will let you guys hear it. It's 2 tracks. You've got a chord progression and a melody line, so that's what I'll be playing. I'll also be playing a bass line with my left hand too, so technically 3 tracks, but I'm playing the bass line as one with the right hand. So let's have a listen to that, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's just a simple, short little piece, but I hope you like it. So that was the review of the P45, and that was my simple piece I composed for the P45. I hope you guys liked that, and I also hope that you guys enjoyed this video as a whole. It's a very simple instrument with not a lot of features, but it does provide a good value for the money. As I said in my initial review that I did at the 2020 NAMM Show, the P125 is better, but if you're buying an instrument for your child, this would honestly be fine. This would be good. If you're looking for something, like I mentioned before, to be able to use on gigs and on location, this won't work very well. The P125, if you want something Yamaha, would work better. But if you're looking for something really, really basic, something cheap to get you into the world of pianos, this would be awesome. This would be great for a kid. This would be great for a beginning pianist who doesn't want to perform in public. For the price point, I do think the P45 has a place, and I think it is very good for the money. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you did, you might want to go check out my channel if you're new. I've got lots of cool videos of pianos, organs, digital pianos, acoustic pianos, and all kinds of other cool stuff. So if any of that sounds cool, you might want to think about checking out my channel, and if you do that, thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.